Yeah, between two burns. Between two burns, yeah, between two burns. Come and join the convo. Jason and Ethan here to talk, yo. Chillin' while we filling up the room with cigar smoke. Ay, between two burns. Between two burns, yeah, between two burns. This be the show that you like. We always keeping it hype. We got cigars in the mic, talking the pipe and the pint. Let's go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are in episode 14, Between Two Burns.
Between two burns.
Between two burns. Between two burns. Jason and Ethan on the mic, yo. Do you like our new...
I like it. I like it.
For the true
I need
pod
to memorize
listeners.
it. I
Between
need to
the
learn
two...
it.
For the, what is our... We need a nickname, actually, for Between Two Burns listeners. You know, like Lady Gaga's got the monsters. You got the beehive for Beyonce. What... the... I don't call them the pipes or anything like that, you know. Let me get.
We're going to workshop this.
Here.
We're going to workshop this.
Yeah, we have to workshop this. But for those who are regular listeners, know that we got a nice new intro song a couple podcasts ago that we went to the interweb to create, and I think it's awesome.
Hey, it is awesome. The things you find on the interwebs.
Things you find on the interwebs. So we're back. We had a short, longer break than normal, but. You were on vacation last week. You went to the beach.
I
had
did.
a good time with your family. The whole 9 yards.
I did. My daughter was a menace to society, but that's okay.
As all daughters are.
She's
Shout
2.
out daughters.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah, it was good. Summertime. It's been good. You know, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. It was nice to have a little break before we get into the heart of more events and everything.
Yeah, it's that time of the year for us. Like we've talked about this with some customers. You know, January coming off of the Christmas holiday. Those first couple, for us, really month and a half, January, a little bit of February is the slow time. But we do see a little bit of a, not really a slowing in sales, but a slowing in the way the sales are done.
Yeah.
Right? Very much box buying, coming in.
Yeah, people going to the beach, they're stocking up for a whole week instead of coming in 2 or 3 times during the week.
In the store, like crowdedness going on, but we do great sales this time of the year, but that's the way it goes until we get to the fall where more guys are hanging out. We have a larger event schedule, which we've talked about, and stuff like that. So it's that time of the year where, like, you were on vacation. Robbie was on the vacation week before that. Austin, I'm sure, will have his beach weekend going sometime in the summertime. Everybody's favorite part-timer is in Europe.
Creating international incidents right now.
International incidents for Mr. Cigar Cop, Mr. Eric Livingston. He is there.
He had the pipe and pint shirt on
he
in
does.
Italy the other day.
I tried to share it, but he's a private account guy, which surprises me. A guy that popular.
That's better for everybody.
He probably is better for everybody that he's at a private account. But he's there for his daughter's graduation.
Yeah,
is that
from
right?
a master's program.
Yeah. Yep.
Political
She's been in
science.
Italy for 2 years?
No. It's only been about a year.
Oh, really?
She went. Yeah, she was just 2 semesters, but it was like a fast-tracked master's degree in political science and world relations or something like that. Been living the life, though, from the way I understand it, and now Big E's over there repping the brand.
Yeah, he's like Clark Griswold and National
That's
Euro
the best analogy you could have used.
Yeah, but he's repping the brand. He had the shirt on. Like I said, tried to share it but couldn't because he's private. But we'll get him back. We've got stuff going on at our beach store like crazy because it is that time of the year. Customers doing the exact same type of thing. So we had a little break there. A week more between pods than we normally would, which is fine. So we got something.
We got something big in the works
today to get the cigar juices flowing.
Oh, yeah. So this today, you know, it's been hot outside, so we thought we'd share some hot takes. But before we do that, what are you smoking today?
So I have got the new Esteban Carrera. I think we had talked about this coming out of the show. Las Cañas, I believe is how it's pronounced. Smoking the Toro. This is their first, not their first venture into it because they got other things. So the Hawaiian Breeze line with them is a full-on infused cigar line.
And that's the one cigar that they do not make. Tatiana makes that for them.
So this is, to my knowledge, made by them, what I would call a premium cigarred sweet cap. It's not chocolate flavored. It's not anything like that. It is a sweet cap cigar. It's a bit more than subtle sweetness. It's a gentle sweetness. But I remember when we smoked it at the show that sweetness really lasted basically throughout the cigar, which you don't always see with a sweet cap cigar.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that Craig told us that they sweeten the entire binder, which seems to be the way to go if you're going to be doing it. But the nice thing that I liked about it was that I felt like the sweetness complemented the tobacco. It wasn't like you were smoking just a sweet cigar and that's all it was sweet. They're still using good Nicaraguan tobacco in it.
So, yeah, that's a good point. The interesting thing that I believe is if this wasn't sweetened, this would be a really good cigar for them, right? Like, and that's kind of what you want when you're talking sweet caps. We find that sweet caps a lot of times bridge the gap between the folks who, traditionally smoke quote-unquote flavored cigars and then are maybe bridging the gap to traditional.
It's interesting, too, because for the longest time, really the only thing on the market was Baccarat.
Yeah.
And that was, they monopolized it, but they sold a bunch of them. That was like the number one selling SKU for Davidoff, and it may still be. I don't know. But so many companies have come out with one recently. I will say the other interesting thing about that cigar is, to my knowledge anyway, it's the first new one that's come out that's Maduro. Most of them, like New Cuba Superior, Rough Riders, I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, but all of those have been Connecticut's. And that one's a Maduro, and it's a Nicaraguan Maduro. A lot of time you'll see Honduran and Dominican stuff in there.
Yeah. Where would you put, like, Isla with this?
Well, Isla's supposedly still flavored.
It's still flavored,
It's
right?
infused with Sumatran coffee, but to me, Isla is more sweet cap than it is flavored. However, it's the sweetest of the sweet cap because it's just like sugar.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm smoking that, which we got a chance to smoke at the show. You're smoking something that we
Just got
smoked
in.
at the show, but just got in.
This is only the second time I've smoked it.
Yeah.
And I really was looking forward to it. This is the AJ New World 10th anniversary, the Diseño, something like that. Yeah, Diseño. I don't know.
Diseño. Amigo.
It's good, though. 10th anniversary. So Mexican wrapper, Nicaraguan binders, Nicaraguan and Honduran fillers. I will say this one is a little bit more dialed back than the sample I smoked. The sample I smoked was full. But this is still a more medium full to full-bodied cigar. One of our customers who just pretty much exclusively smokes full-bodied pepper bomb smoked it the other day and absolutely loved it. I wouldn't go so far to say this is a pepper bomb. I think it's really balanced. It's got some nice cocoa notes. It's earthy. It does have a lot of black pepper to it. But for those that like New World Maduro, New World Puro Especial, Bella Artes, some of the more full-bodied AJ stuff that he makes for other people.
Yeah, if you're an AJ
wheelhouse.
person, this is going to hit right where you're looking.
He did a great job with it, and it's a testament, I think, to AJ, too. Obviously, this is celebrating the 10th anniversary of New World, but it's also a testament to AJ's resiliency because this was announced before the fire, and we weren't even expecting this to come, but they got it here in June.
Yeah.
Even with the fires. I mean, what he's been able to do with the rebuild and everything, getting production back up. I think they were only down for like 13 days. Super impressive.
Dude, it's been incredible, right? We see that with the foundation partnership as well. Like, you're seeing cigars come in. Obviously, there's still going to be points where it's slow, and we may be without for periods of time between the two and everything like that. But I think they have mitigated the logistical impact about as best, as well as anybody I think could, right?
It was fairly doom and gloom at PCA. I mean, I feel like if I'm remembering that correctly, obviously the AJ rep was like, oh, it's, we're going to figure it out. But a lot of the other people who have their cigars made for them by AJ were very concerned.
This feels very much like an under-promise, over-deliver situation. Like, here's the situation we're in. We'd rather give you a worst-case scenario. That way you're prepared for that. And then if we can deliver on that, you're going to be a happy group of retailers. And I got to imagine that's where everybody's at on it.
Yeah, I mean, even the biggest thing that we were concerned about and what we were told to do was to save boxes because they'd be shipping a lot of stuff in bundles because the boxes were affected by the fire.
One of the major impacts, yeah.
We've only gotten one cigar in bundles. Everything's still coming in boxes.
Yeah.
It's so impressive.
Yeah,
so
very
impressive.
Very impressive.
But this cigar is great. It's available at all our stores now. Good price points on it, $12 to $15, 3 sizes, Robusto, Toro, Gordo. Big fan.
Yeah, it's going to be a good cigar.
Yeah.
It's core, correct?
Yes, I think so. A couple people have asked me that, and I feel like I remember someone saying, or our rep
I
saying
think so,
that
'cause I
next
don't
year
ever
was going to be
remember
a
being
New World 11th anniversary, but
Okay.
I don't know. If it is limited, I don't know box quantities, and I don't know when they're expected to run out of it. I have a feeling we'll be able to have it on the shelf for a long time. So.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So like you talked about, we want to do something a little bit feisty today.
I wanted to stir the pot.
You did. You want to stir the pot.
This is my idea. If
Yeah,
anybody comes for us,
you got to come for Ethan.
Me.
He specifically said there may be some people who
I'm gonna make some people mad.
But listen. We're
the opinions that are going to be shared on the podcast are not the express opinions of the Pipe and Pint, but of the employee of the Pipe and Pint. Now I don't know what your hot takes are, so I don't know
his phone number is 33. His address is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this was born out of some stuff that happened at the beach, some stuff that I smoked, some stuff I was thinking about, and so I'm excited. I've got my own hot takes. I've asked some employees and also customers who I won't mention what their hot takes are. So we're going to share some
you got some
some that I actually disagree with. But it's hot take episode, so we're gonna
episode 14 is hot takes. We are in hot ass North Carolina weather. There's no better time to do a hot take and get people upset than it is the heat, because then you just agitate it even more and stuff like that. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of go back and forth. Excuse me. Go back and forth, talk about the hot take. Be interested to see if the other
we got
the
any
other
overlapping.
disagrees.
Or disagrees.
I do think we'll see. Like you told me, we did not tell each other specifically because I like being surprised by it. I do have an idea of one, if not two, of your quote-unquote hot takes. So there's not a lot of. I want to be surprised by it to get the initial reaction, not be prepared for.
And I will say when
I
I share my hot takes, I'm going to share them in order of the least to most likely to piss somebody off.
Oh, okay.
That's
I don't have mine in any specific order.
Or at least with the ones that I came up with. The customer ones, well, I'll just share in order.
My hot
I've
takes
got them
may
listed.
play off of yours. So, like, depending on what your hot take is, I could go to a different one.
Sure.
So I won't keep it. So you're going from least hot to most hot.
Yeah.
But even your least hot is boiling hot, I presume.
Yeah,
like,
I think
you can't
so.
touch it.
I think so.
I
think
like
so.
a hot tub.
Yep.
All right, so this is your idea. I'm going to let you go first. You came with no notes again.
I got it on my phone.
I got it on your phone. Okay.
Notes. I do have
I always
notes,
come with paper notes. You're a digital guy. I'm a paper guy.
But all right. Hot take number 1. The V cutter is the worst cutter and has ruined more cigars than it's worth.
Wow. So I can't. Here's what I say. I don't personally V-cut very often. It's not my cut of choice. I can't explain the explosion in popularity of it. I don't really know how long it's been around. It feels like I'm sure it's not a newer invention, but the popularity of it seems very new. The idea behind it and what they'll say they get it, to me, feels gimmicky.
So I'll explain my hot take and why I believe this. And I'm going to play a little devil's advocate with my hot takes too, because at the end of the day, cigars are subjective, and if you spend your money on it, you
do
can
whatever
you
you
do
want.
whatever you want
We'll
to.
always say this.
You can do whatever you want.
This is ingested and fun, but yes.
But this is from a retailer perspective. V cutters were made for torpedoes, right? They were made to cut the tips of torpedoes off. I get that. That's cool. The problem with V cutters is over time they've gotten deeper and they've gotten more aggressive. And when you V cut a cigar, I've seen so many times where the V cutter cuts through the entire cap of the cigar.
Yep.
So that when you're smoking it, the cigar starts to come unraveled because the cap is not meant to be cut through. And I've had customers who I have V-cut cigars for, deep V-cut, because that's what they asked for. And don't get me started on the crown cut or the star cut, because that's just dumb. Come up to me and say, hey, man, this cigar came unraveled when I was smoking it, and expect me to do something about it.
Yeah, that's because of
That's
that.
not my problem.
Yep.
Like, that is, I cut it the way you asked me to, and that's fine because that's your money. If you want to smoke it that way, that's cool. But I don't get it. People say that the V-cutter opens up the draw, which I don't understand, because if a cigar is made properly, a straight cutter or a punch should do that. Hell, you should be able to take a toothpick, in theory, and poke a hole in the end of the cigar and you should smoke.
Yeah, it should be do it.
But V-cutters ruin more cigars than they're worth. I don't get it. I don't understand it. and I feel like I use a V cutter more than I do a straight cutter at the shop these days. It is infuriating from the cigar geek side of me.
Yeah, so here's what I'll say. I didn't know this. You told me that the V cut was designed to cut torpedoes, and I do, when I smoke a torpedo, use a V cut. I do feel like I get a better draw cut the first time. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when you're doing a straight cut with a torpedo or perfector or something like that, you find yourself cutting it a couple times, getting to the point, and then you're just extra stressing it.
And I do too. I will say that too. I V-cut torpedoes as well.
Yeah.
Because that's what it was made for.
That's what it was designed to do.
Not for, especially where it hurts the most, is small ring gauge cigars.
Oh, you should not be V-cutting.
Yeah, you cut the whole head of the cigar off.
The head of the cigar. And so here's the other thing that I've noticed, and this goes to potentially damaging cigars. It dulls exponentially faster, in my opinion. We ain't done no scientific testing on this, but it dulls much quicker than a straight cut to me. You know, we've got a V. So anybody comes into the shop, all of our tobacconists, yourself, Robbie, whoever, maybe at any store, generally have a V, a straight, and a punch behind the counter to take care of this. Good, high quality one, so you know you're going to get a good cut. And the only reason we had to replace the straight cut that we had behind the counter recently in Greensboro is because it failed from a mechanical standpoint. It had been there a long time. It's still very sharp at cutting. But the V-cut we had to replace strictly because it was popping and tearing cigars. And this was not an inexpensive, probably short of something very limited and very luxury.
This is the top of the line V-cutter.
The top of the line V-cutter, yeah. Now we've gone to another V-cut, which we think is very good. It gives one of the deepest V-cuts I've ever experienced.
It's interesting too because I've obviously V-cut a lot of cigars. Cigars, a cigar is not meant to V-cut when I have a sharp V-cutter and I am forcibly having to squeeze that cutter through the tobacco in the cigar.
Yeah, if you got to do that, all you're doing is ruining the cigar.
It's frustrating, too, from a retailer's perspective because I know how to cut a cigar. I know how to use a V-cutter. But when I use a V-cutter that's sharp and good quality and I cut it and the cigar still cracks, super frustrating. Because then we have to replace it, and it's like, if I'd have just cut this with a straight cut, I wouldn't be losing the money on this cigar right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I totally agree. But the reality is, its popularity, it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere.
It only gets more frequently asked about.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like I use the V-cutter more than a straight cutter. Like, honestly, I grab a V-cutter when, like, do you want me to cut that cigar? Yeah, I'm reaching for the V-cutter more than I am the straight cutter just because most people want a V-cut.
You know, and like everybody's seeing, we're here in Durham, the newest location. And because we kind of started from scratch here, right, new market first, everything like that, a lot of new people that we've never met before, we are probably at a 80+% of people asking for a V-cut versus anything else.
It's wild.
I don't think it's that high at the other stores, mainly because we just straight cutted for the longest period of time, and that's just what you knew you were going to get. But we get into the habit of asking what kind of cut you would like because, again, we talk about this. You smoke the cigars you like. You smoke them how you want them.
Absolutely.
If you want to cut the thing in half with a pair of scissors, we're going to cringe. The other thing I will say, if you're a novice, like super novice, you got to pay attention with the V. But because generally speaking, the V has a stopper to it in all situations, it does. It stops the length or whatever. A lot of new cigar customers, cigar smokers, man, they take that straight cut for the first time, and you're like, before you can get the words "no" out of your mouth, they've done
the movie cut, is what I like to call it.
They've taken 2 inches off of a 7-inch cigar. You're like, oh God, we're going to be replacing that one, and then having to do the instructional because we do. I mean, we teach a lot of times, behind the counter, because I don't think the average person, cigar smoker, even who smoked a long time, realizes how little with a straight cut they need to be taking off of the cigar.
Yeah, like I said, I call it the movie cut, the TV cut, Because when you see people cutting cigars on movies and TVs, they're just cutting the whole shoulder of the cigar off. They don't know any better. They're just,
Yeah. If you go by that, man. They'll be cutting it at the band.
yeah, that's exactly
You know
right.
what I mean?
That's exactly right. So,
All right, that's
hot take number one.
That's hot take number one. So I do see where you're going because that is a hot take per se, but I feel like your takes are going to get hotter.
they are.
Okay.
They are.
I'm gonna go. Let me think here because I want to play off of yours a little bit, maybe, and no, I'm gonna go with a smoking hot take right off of the get go.
Oh, boy.
Okay, and I'm gonna title this in the hottest take possible. Okay, Cuban cigars suck. Okay, so that's the hot take of it. But what I'm saying is Nicaraguan cigars are better. Okay.
So you explain, and then I'm actually going to share a couple hot takes that go along with this that aren't mine, that were customers.
Okay. So we obviously get the mythology purchasing of Cuban cigars all the time for customers. Hey, blows my mind that the average person who smokes cigars does not realize that you cannot buy Cuban cigars in the United States.
Sidebar, I was at Lowe's Foods in Oak Island, and the gentleman that was bagging my groceries was very talkative, super nice guy. Shout out Neil.
Shout out Neil at Lowe's Foods.
But he asked me
Oak
what I
Island.
do. He asked me, cigars. I told him, we've got a location in Southport. He was like, I love cigars. Do you have Romeo and Juliet? I was like, yeah, they should have them. And then he asked me, do you have not Cuban cigars, but pre-embargo Cuban cigars?
Interesting.
And he was like, they're really hard to find. I was like, bro, yeah, they're hard to find. That happened in the 60s. Anyways, continue.
I won't say every day. At least once a week, somebody comes in and asks about it. And, hey, do you have Cuban cigars? My thing is, the Cuban market has been ravaged over the last, name the amount of years. It doesn't matter, right? It's a small place. The rest of the world gets Cuban cigars. Canada, Mexico, all of Europe, Asia, Australia. The demand far outweighs the production capabilities. But that doesn't keep manufacturers from pumping the production capabilities. You're going through and planning on land constantly and running it through the quality. Now, what the average person is going to tell me is, well, you haven't smoked them all, you're not smoking them and stuff like that. That's all fair, okay? But the rise of Nicaraguan cigars, the people who came from Cuba who are now in Nicaragua, using a lot of those old world techniques, old world tobaccos to do that stuff, in my opinion, has risen them above the Cuban cigars.
So I agree with you. We've talked about this before. I'm going to not explain any of these points, but I'm going to give these points real quick about Cuban cigars. Like you said, they do not crop rotate, so the soil has no nutrient in it, and tobacco is one of the roughest things on soil, so the tobacco that they're growing is not as good of a quality as what is grown anywhere else. The rumor that Cuban cigars aren't even blended anymore and that they're just rolled to a specific size and color sorted is something that always goes in the back of my mind. The fact that you are supporting a communist country that took farms from the farmers who were actually planting and growing there is really messed up. The fact that those same farmers all left and went to Nicaragua and the Dominican and Honduras and took their seed and their growing techniques and the rolling techniques to a different place where, come to find out, the soil was just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
It makes your point even more valid. And I could go on and on about this, but two hot takes that go along with this.
And while you're looking that up, the other thing is, too, the price.
Yeah, the price is astronomical.
The price is astronomical, and you are paying for the legend and the forbidden fruit that is Cuban cigars, especially if you're an American going outside of the United States.
And guess what? Most of the Cuban cigars you probably think you've smoked aren't real.
Or what?
They're not real.
No, they're fake.
They're fake.
Yeah.
They're super fake.
We get people all the time who bring them in vacation. Nothing wrong with that, stuff like that. Try it. Let me know what you think. And you can tell while they're pulling it out. That person get it out of a cellophane bundle. I'm like, I don't think these cigars come in bundles, man.
I had a
Like,
good customer the other day, and I love the guy is a super good dude, and I'm always feeling comfortable having these conversations, but he was like, hey,
yeah, because you feel you don't want to tell them.
I don't want to piss him
like,
off,
yeah,
right?
because they spent their money on it, which I appreciate.
He was like, hey, I bought this box of Cubans from a guy. It's the Cohiba something. I said, the Bahique? He said, yeah. How much you pay for it? $200. I said, oh, really? I said, did you know that Bahiques are about $2,000 for a box? Nah, he's getting them from Cuba. I said, you got a picture of it? Yeah, man. And not only was it a Cohiba Bahique band, but it was the 55th anniversary Cohiba Bahique band.
Oh, baby.
And I said, okay.
Got a good deal.
How many cigars were in that box? He was like 20. I was like, okay. Well, they only came in boxes of 10, and it should have been about $3,000 actually.
Yeah.
He was like, nah. I was like,
nah, man.
okay.
No,
that's
dog.
cool.
You don't know
I'm
what
not
you're-
gonna argue with you.
Nah, dog.
And he still bought cigars from us. Like I said, I really
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
of course.
guy, and I handle that with care.
gloves. Yeah.
But yeah. So these are hot takes from employees or friends or people in the industry
That are related to this.
that are related to this.
Okay, let me hear.
One person said that the Cuban embargo is actually good for the industry, which I don't even know if that's necessarily a hot take, but I agree.
I don't think that's a hot take. I actually think that's probably written fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean the collateral effect of that is, oh, like, hey, can I get a Cuban? Like, we don't have those. Or like, but you come in and buy something else.
Yep.
So I mean, there's probably a huge percentage of people who go into a cigar shop thinking they're going to buy a Cuban cigar, but leave with a Nicaraguan or Dominican cigar.
Right. And then this one's my favorite in regards to Cuban, and I like I said, all names have been redacted, so I'm not going to say who said this, but I'm going to read it the way that they wrote it. Saying I usually smoke Cubans lets me know I'm going to hate the next few minutes, and you have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah. I'm fairly confident I know who that came from.
I don't know. You
Oh,
may
really?
not. Yeah, you
Okay.
may not.
Well, we'll discuss afterwards. I'll be interested to see. That is not even a hot take. That is very reasonable, because if you are like, I only smoke Cuban and stuff like that, which just means you're that's just not a fact.
We have one friend who
Maybe
smokes a lot of Cubans that I know are real because he pays the money for them.
Yeah, sure.
And if he told me, hey, I smoke a lot of Cubans, I'd be like, yeah, I know you do because I've seen your humidor. And
There's a difference between I smoke a lot of Cubans and I only smoke Cubans.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly
Like,
right.
you don't smoke cigars and only smoke Cubans.
No, because anyone that smokes cigars knows that there are
They
good
care
Cuban
about their
cigars out there,
quality
but they
and-
care about
and
the
the-
quality.
yeah.
And there are places in Nicaragua and the Dominican and Honduras that are making cigars that even they like better, right? Like if you asked our friend who smokes a lot of Cubans what his favorite brand is, it's not a Cuban brand.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So, anyways, I agree with you. I agree with you.
So that's my first hot take.
It's a good one.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Hot take number 2 coming from Ebots.
This is the one. This is where things get super spicy.
Address in Plainsville.
I am gonna have some people come for me for this one.
Oh, okay.
And this is the one you know about.
Okay.
Dunbarton is the most overrated brand in the cigar industry right now. Let me explain.
You're gonna make a
I'm
lot
gonna
of,
piss some people
You're
off.
gonna make a lot of Saka sites or Saka ice.
Saka, Sasquatch, knob
Squatchies.
slobbers.
Some
whatever.
Squatchies very upset right now.
So, I want to preface all of this saying I want to like Dunbarton.
Yeah.
Okay? You know that I have bought multiple boxes of Dunbarton cigars
Yep.
because I want to like them. I want to get what the hype's about. I see the high ratings, and I get them, and every single time I get them and smoke them, I am disappointed. The Umbagog Bronzeback was the consensus #1 cigar of the year on Half Wheel. That takes into account over 40 different cigar lists from cigar bloggers, influencers, aficionado publications, and compiles it all together and gives a point rating. And that was the #1 cigar. That cigar tastes like earth and pepper. That is it. That you cannot tell me that was the #1 cigar of the year last year. I bought a box of the Sober Mesa Red. Half Wheel gave it 91 points and said it was unbelievable. It tasted like cocoa, earth, black pepper, cedar, and a little cream the entire time, and it was $19 a cigar.
Yep.
I bought a box of Mi Queridas in the little size and decided that I was going to age them for a long time. Guess what? It ain't no better than half the other stuff in the humidor.
Yep.
I've smoked the Tricky Traca. I've smoked the Sin Compromiso. And have I had some good ones? Yeah. I smoked a Maestro de Saka that Austin gave me that he had been aging for a little while. That cigar was unbelievable. I get that. That cigar was also like $25. And this is... The other thing that frustrates me about this is, like, Steve Saka obviously knows tobacco. He knows more about tobacco than I do, if I was guessing. But he also just didn't, like, he didn't blend anything at Drew Estate. He says he came up with Liga Privada, but Nick blended it. Foundation blended it. Yeah. I just don't get the hype. I don't understand it. I want to be proven wrong. Like, I really do, because if I could be proven wrong, then maybe I would get what everybody's saying, get what the consensus is, get where the high ratings come from. And before anybody says, oh, that's the reason the Pipe and Pint doesn't carry Dunbarton, no, that is not true. This is my own personal opinion, because what I do know is that Dunbarton sells. We don't have Dunbarton because we don't have room for Dunbarton.
Yeah, that's right.
But at the end of the day, if we had Dunbarton, I would sell the hell out of it, because I'm not going to spite myself just because of my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But from the things that I've smoked, the Mi Querida Black is another one. A customer gave me one and was like, this is one of the best cigars I ever smoked. I'm like, bro, Tabernacle is better. It's just better.
Yep.
Plain and simple. I don't get the hype behind Dunbarton. I'm not saying the cigars are bad. They're not bad cigars. They're just not the greatest thing in the world like a lot of people think they are.
Yeah. So this is one of your takes that, excuse me, that I'm not going to be able to either defend or push back on.
Well, here's a question for you.
Smoke Dunbarton.
Here's a question for you, and this whole thing pissed me off. You smoked the Sobremesa Brulee Blue because I bought a box of them.
The Sweet Cap one?
But it wasn't Sweet Cap, right? So then he comes up with the stupid names, the STFU sampler, where it's like some have a little sweetness, some don't have a little sweetness. It's like, bro, you can say whatever you want to. The Sobremesa Brulee Blue was actually a good cigar. Mm-hmm. It had a Sweet Cap. I don't care. I smoked it myself. I tasted it. I know what sugar tastes like.
Yep.
It had a Sweet Cap.
Yep.
I just don't get it, dude.
Yep.
I don't get it. I get worked up about this because I just want to understand, but I don't get it.
Yeah, we don't carry it for the reasons that you explained. I have not personally, like, been driven enough to go out and get a lot of other things from them. I've had a select number of things.
Yeah, that I've given you from the full boxes that I bought at full price. Like I said, I've tried. I've tried. I want people to understand that. Yeah. I have tried.
Yep. Expensive craft. Like, I have a tough time sometimes reconciling it when there's other companies who it doesn't have to be that price and things like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. I'd have to give them more, but it kind of trust you on this, but I would develop my own opinion. But I appreciate you I
put myself out there on that one.
Putting yourself on this like anti-Saka, not anti-Saka. I don't want to tell people to come directly at you all week on social media and really give you the business. I mean, people out there really don't do that. Don't get all over Ethan. Like,
whatever.
Don't spend all day developing takes to come back at Ethan for his opinions.
Exactly right.
please don't do that, because it wouldn't be hilarious.
It wouldn't be funny.
It wouldn't be funny at all to get him riled up to do that. So my hot take 2 is actually going to play off of yours a little bit, because it's something that you said on there, and we are guilty of this. We do this. We did this on our podcast. You see it everywhere. The rating system of cigars is just a bunch of bullshit. Okay. If everything's a 91, is anything a 91 kind of thing, right? I don't find personally any value. There are low. Listen, I fall victim to this because there's some cigars we smoked last year that we would have told you this thing is awesome, and it got these like ratings. I was like, oh, like, am I crazy? Like, these rating systems are devised for views, for page readers, for advertisers, whatever, format, whether it's blog, magazine, or wherever it comes from. You just shouldn't be putting your cigar buying habits, in my opinion, behind something that's, you're going to buy something that's a 92 over something that's an 88 just because of that, right? Now, are there some cigars that get very highly rated that are just awesome cigars and we know it? Yes, absolutely. Are there some cigars that get rated like an absolute trash can because they're an absolute trash can of a cigar? Absolutely. You don't need a magazine to tell you. They just smoke it the one time, and maybe that saves you the hassle of buying that one time. Sure, I get it. But too many times are these, in my opinion, ratings influenced by something other than the cigar themselves. I think that Half Wheel may do the best job on their reviews because of how they do it and how they do their rating. But even then, like, we've talked about it. We've already harped on it like 4 times. Smoke what you like. Smoke what is good to you, because something that's good to me, you're just not down with. Something that's good to you, I'm just not down with. It just happens that way, right? So these rating systems are out of whack. We saw the top 25s over last year, and you're like, wait, what? What is that? Like,
I think the only rating that legitimately matters from a sales perspective, and it does not matter as much as it used to, is the number 1 cigar of the year for a cigar aficionado. That's the only one that moves the needle at all.
That moves the needle, but I don't even know that. We talked about this when we kind of bashed the top 25 list. Like, if you're rating the top 25 cigars and all cigars are available, why isn't the number 1 cigar from the year before the number 1 cigar this year? Or why isn't it the number 2 then? Why is it not even on the list if we're going back and forth and that kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. So it does move the needle because for that exact reason, because the average consumer is influenced by that, right? And they know what they're doing. I'm not knocking them from doing it. What I'm just saying is there are other factors, in my opinion, that contribute to where cigars rank on top 25 lists.
I'm with you. And I think as someone who reads multiple review sites on a daily basis, you learn the biases and the likes and dislikes of the person reviewing the cigar. So like Half Wheel, for instance, if Charlie rates a cigar above a 90, that usually means that I'm probably going to like it. Mm-hmm. Unless it's a Connecticut, because Charlie really likes Connecticut's a lot. Like, they gave the Joya de Nicaragua, Joya, the Uno, the numero uno.
Yeah, that is one of their higher rated cigars all time.
I think it got a number 1 cigar of the year.
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't get that cigar. But then they gave the Goldie a really high rating back. This was back in the day, and that's one of the best Connecticut's I've ever smoked. So once you learn their palates, I think they can help direct you in the right way. To see, like, if they give this a high review and I like this cigar, and then they give this cigar a high review, I'm probably going to go like that cigar, so I'm going to spend my money on it. You know what I mean? I feel like they're good for that, but I'm with you. I remember talking to Paul Palmer of Aganorsa. This was when I had first started at the shop. He was like, do you know how to rate a cigar? And he told me construction, burn, smoke, flavor, all these things. And right now, and we've talked about this before, I feel like we are seeing lower ratings because of construction issues. I feel like that has started to correct itself.
We have seen that influence. We saw it influence a cigar recently that we don't have to name or anything like that. We very much like, but we experienced the exact same thing.
Yep. And
so,
yes,
that was less about the number at the end they gave it and more about telling you what they experienced with it, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because, I mean, they legitimately said, like, if there wasn't for construction issues on 2 of the 3, this would be
top 25 contender.
Top 25 cigar from there. So, like, that number meant less than the actual effort that was put forth into, like, talking about the experience of it.
Yeah, and I feel like objectively, the only thing you can objectively truly rate is the construction, right? Because flavor is subjective. How do you put points on flavor when I like the flavor but you don't like the flavor?
Yeah.
If it burns or doesn't burn, then that's a problem. That is an objective problem.
Yes, correct.
That you can put a tangible number to. But the flavor is so subjective that I'm with you. I don't know how you quantify that with a number.
Yeah, and like we said, we see these all over the place. It feels like everything falls between an 88 and a 91, right? They're all right in that range, and then there's this deviation of outliers that like, oh, that's going to be on their top 25 list. I got a 93 or 94. Oh, that was a, very rarely does it drop below that. Like you get the 84s.
77.
Yeah, I mean, we infamously saw a cigar that we had in that got a 54.
Yeah,
though we didn't
right.
sell, but somebody gave to us.
That's right.
That they reviewed or whatever.
And this isn't just Half-Wheel. This is everybody.
No. Yeah.
This is everybody. Because like I've noticed
yeah.
with Coop, and Coop is a friend of the store. He used to be a customer. I like Coop fine. But like Coop has adjusted his ratings over time where most of his stuff is falling between an 85 and an 88.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if everything's an 85 to 88, like what differentiates this?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. And then I think they also are like, there's a level of like, could it be that high because we only, like this other cigar that was X was a 92. Like was this cigar better than that cigar? Could it be a 93? You know what I mean? You like,
right.
You fall into like, we can't give it a 10 because we gave that a 9, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So my point is, smoke what you enjoy and don't feel bad about it because somebody's going to tell you, I was like, I don't know, man. Aficionado only gave that an 87. Oh, an 87. Dude, tell me more. Is that bad? Listen, I got a lot of 87s in school, man. That's a B plus,
That's
bro.
exactly right.
That's
C's get degrees, as
hell
they say.
yeah, man. That's a B plus right there, I think. Maybe it's just a regular B. It don't matter. But, all right. So, that kind of played off the Dunbarton thing. That, like, smoke what you like. That's all I'm saying.
Nope. All right, this next one. This is a branding iron over the fire on your skin. I don't even know if you're going to agree with me. Hot take.
Oh God.
And I don't know. I may lose my job over this. Not really.
Wow, that would be interesting to get fired.
That would be
quote unquote live on air.
That's right. Opus X is not worth the money or hype.
That's gonna make some people mad.
Mm-hmm. Now, let me do a lot of clarification here, okay?
So this is going to be one of those, I feel like, hot takes that is very
nuanced.
Very nuanced.
This is a very nuanced hot take.
Yeah.
And the reason this is my scalding hot take is because I smoked an Opus X Power Ranger at the beach, which is my favorite size of Opus in the regular Opus line. And it was the most underfilled and bitter Opus that I've ever smoked in my life, and I smoked it in about 25 minutes because it was so hot and so underfilled.
Wow.
I have smoked Forbidden X's, I've smoked 25ths, I've smoked BBMFs, I've smoked Toy Makers, and some of the Opus, like the 20th, is one of my favorite cigars of all time. The Toy Maker that our good friend gave us that I smoked on the New Year's podcast when we did the unicorns was one of the best Opus I've ever smoked. But in my opinion, the hype for it, the waiting in line for it, the paying $50, $60, $70 for it, 2-3 times the price of what it should be for it, is dumb. I don't understand it, and they're not worth the money, and it's starting to fall in the I only smoke Cuban category for me.
Yeah. So here's what I would say to that scolding hot take, which is, and in fact, a hot take, but I think it can be quantified with things. If you're listening to this podcast, you know the Opus 20th is probably my favorite cigar that's semi-readily available. It's not some, whatever,
One-off,
down the road, one-off type of thing. Now, this may make some people mad, but I doubt all the retailers listen. But we don't price gouge Opus in our stores.
Mm-mm.
We charge MSRP, given our tobacco tax and stuff like that. So that always has to be clarified for our Opus X cigars. We have seen under numerous occasions where we charge $34. Let's say that's the MSRP on a certain Opus. And other shops are selling it for $70. depending on which one, what it is, I don't know that it's necessarily overpriced in that situation. But I think if you're not recognizing the fact, and maybe the only place to get it for you is at your home shop, and your home shop charges double the retail because they know it's going to sell and they know the demand's there, and maybe that's just good business. We don't do it like that, okay? We do our Opus drops in a whole different way than a lot of stores do it. We do it twice a year. We gather these up, and they go fast. And I think we could charge much, much, much more for them if we wanted to. We just choose not to. We don't do that to our customers. We don't treat our customers who are loyal to us on an everyday basis like that. That's not the case for these all-time places. Because we hear, we sell, if we say we drop this Opus X on a Saturday, we sell it all out by lunchtime. Okay, we have lines of people waiting outside. But then we'll get people come back in that go maybe visit a store out of town, or maybe they're from out of town, or whatever it is. Like, oh yeah, I got Opus we have Opus on our shelves. Like, there's a couple factors in that, in my opinion. Mainly because it might not have the following there, but because the price has been marked in a fashion that just doesn't allow for the average customer to go in there and buy it like they're supposed to, right? So I'm on board with the take in the sense that I think you're thinking of it as, which is in that case, which is like we charge, I'm going to pull this out of air because I don't remember. Let's say it's $35 for the blue. If you're paying $90 for it, you're way overpaying for that cigar.
So I want to, yes, I agree. And I want to clarify a couple other things too. There's this argument that is among Opus smokers that Opus needs to be aged and not smoked young. Well, if I'm paying $35 or even $20 for a cigar,
be able to smoke it right
I
then and
better
there.
be able to smoke it that day. And yes, I've had some aged Opus that is awesome. And I will say this too. When Opus is on and it's smoking the way it needs to smoke, there ain't nothing else like it, and it's absolutely fantastic. I feel like the quality and the consistency of them has gone downhill over the last couple years, though.
Interesting.
And like if we were doing this 5 years ago, that would not have been on my list whatsoever at all. But I was genuinely pissed when I smoked that Power Ranger. And the day before that, my dad smoked a Perfection No. 4 Corona that I gave him. Damn thing wouldn't stay lit and it wouldn't burn. Now, we were at the beach. I get it. There's wind and stuff. But it's still a high-end, well-regarded cigar. One of them got #1 cigar of the year 2 years ago. People wait in line for this thing. It needs to deliver every time. And it hasn't been doing that recently, in my opinion, and that is why it is my scalding hot brand iron
And the
take.
reality is there's no reason that it shouldn't deliver every time.
And we age our Opus usually. Like, it's not like we're getting them off the truck and they're under-humidified.
No, because the way we do it, we store them away,
they've been
packaged
in
with
the humidor,
with their Boveda packs in them, and however they come. So they are stored more proper than anybody else's Opus because they're given time to do it and everything like that. So yeah, I see where your take is coming from right there. Yeah, right. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm a little surprised that was on your hot takes.
Yeah,
that wasn't a hot take I wasn't prepared for.
I know.
Yeah, so people are good to tell you, you're talking about, bro.
Yeah, I know. No, yeah. I'll get chastised for that one. But
and again, don't come at it.
No,
don't make it funny either. I mean, don't do that. Don't do that. This hot take, I don't think that you'll probably think this is from a retailer's perspective because you work in the retail portion of it. Will be think this is much of a hot take, but I think the average customer might think this is a super hot take. I think that cigar manufacturers, this is going to be kind of a broad, sweeping statement because you'll see where I'm going with this, but should be thanking and giving praise to Jonathan Drew and the popularization of flavored cigars for what is the cigar market, in my opinion. The flavored cigar sells so much, and introduces more new people to cigars that in a lot of cases end up gravitating away from flavored cigars as they become a more experienced cigar smoker, I think, than anything that there is. I think the average customer who comes in who's a brand new cigar smoker probably buys something flavor and or infused, however you want to describe it, 8 times out of 10. And I think that market overall drives the general cigar market more than any other factor. I have no data to support that. I have not looked this up. This is
Facts
a personal. This is a personal opinion from the retail side that I see based on what we purchase over and over again, what we see people purchasing over and over again, how it graduates and develops over time their relationship with cigars, the female cigar market
Very much so.
benefits
Very much so.
gradually, and I think without them, the introduction of new cigar smokers would be difficult.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate, not because I disagree with you, but
Okay.
because it's fun.
Okay.
This is a hot take from someone. They said that flavored cigars are the White Claw of the humidor.
Okay. You're not playing devil's advocate. You're supporting my theory. Again, I have no facts to back this up. But the advent of White Claws and seltzers to the alcohol market were probably the biggest boom to the alcohol business over the last 10 years than anything else. Without,
Yeah, I agree.
listen to me. White Claws had to crawl so high noons could run.
God bless a high noon.
Okay.
There ain't nothing better.
But
Hot summer day.
But the reality is the person who doesn't drink a lot of beer goes to the seltzer or anything like that. The female market, the female who doesn't
Especially
drink.
in this health conscious era
Thank you.
of things.
Yeah.
Because there is scientific data out there to state that more people in my generations and the generations that come after are not drinking for health reasons, but when they do drink, it's very much so seltzers, high noons, low calorie, like lighter, not going to get you hammered.
Yes.
Drinks.
Yeah. And I think the person who gave you that hot take thought of that as a diss, right? Developed that take as a knock on
And
flavored cigars.
This person knows cigars very well. We all love him. He is very much so a cigar, I don't want to say snob,
Purist.
and I consider myself much of one too. So I agree with the idea of that, but from a retailer perspective, it's different caps, right? From a consumer perspective, I don't like them. Sans a tobacco every now and again, like I've talked about.
Yep.
But from a retailer perspective, I agree with you. I don't think as many
But from
people would
the
smoke without
cigar
them.
purist standpoint that you're talking about, I think without flavored cigars, without the popularity of flavors, the popularity of the entire Deadwoods line, the acids before that, the Tabac line, Islas, Javas from Rocky Patel. Who's Java made by?
Drew Estate.
Drew Estate.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know who invented the flavored cigar. Okay. Don't pretend to do. If you think anybody but Drew Estate popularized them in the premium cigar market, you're wrong. Right?
Between them and Tatiana, the Groovy Blue, which is the most foul-smelling cigar when it is lit up, I'm pretty sure the Groovy Blue is like neck and neck with Drew Estate on like how many they sell.
I would guess so. Yeah.
Because we know a local shop that has a shop down at the beach, and I'm pretty sure I was told one time they were going through 100 boxes of Groovy Blue in a month.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah.
That's insanity.
Yeah, and I would say for us in the average, let's use Greensboro for example, when we're talking flavoreds, that's asked for by a person coming in that maybe we've never seen before. Number 1 or number 2 with fat bottoms, probably right there somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
Right. I guess my point is, again, I don't smoke them outside of, like you said, I enjoy a Tabac. If I'm going to have something that's full on flavored, that would be my favorite. But without them and the revenue that they generate for these manufacturers to support the development of like one-off cigar geeky, purist type of cigars, right? You may not, if you're a manufacturer, you may not have the flexibility and the ability to do what you want to do with small production stuff if you didn't have the support and the revenue generated by your popular flavored stuff.
Well, let's look at what we talked about or mentioned earlier is Baccarat. Baccarat's Davidoff's #1 seller. It's not Davidoff. If Davidoff didn't have Baccarat, they wouldn't be able to make the high-quality premium cigars that they make. And we don't carry Davidoff. I don't smoke a lot of Davidoff. I do think Davidoff is overpriced, but they make some damn good cigars. Like when our good friend Revolving Door Stogie Award winner Franklin was working for them, he gave me a decent amount, and every time I smoked one, I was like, damn, this is pretty good right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the money that is being made off of Baccarat is funding a lot of that stuff.
And that's what I mean. Like it wouldn't allow. I think manufacturers would have to think more about their general product line and how to generate revenue than having a nice base to build off of.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're smoking this Esteban. I could see this being their more popular SKU. I'd have to go back and look, but the Hawaiian Breeze line, like you said, is not made by us. Not made by Esteban, but is an Esteban cigar. Is probably our most popular Esteban SKUs. Correct?
Yep.
Our friends at Foundation, we love Foundation cigars from top to bottom. Brand new company when he started and stuff like that. Basically came out with upsetters immediately. Not like we'll do a flavor down the line. Like, no, we know what flavored cigars do for the company. They may not be for you and I, but the reality is they are for a huge percentage of the cigar market, if you will.
Yep.
You know what I mean? The consuming market.
Yep.
And they're never going away. They're only going to get more creative, would be my guess with them. We've already seen it.
Now, I will say this about flavored cigars. The one concern I have for flavored cigars, and this is playing devil's advocate, is the FDA scrutiny.
So that
they
will
come under.
always be a lingering issue.
Because it's specifically, like, I don't see an issue with tobacco and deadwoods and acid and even Hawaiian Breeze and Tatiana. But like Asylum just did a banana split flavored cigar. I got a problem with that.
I think you got to be careful of it. We've seen this in, we also retail beer and wine. We've seen this in the craft beer market, in my opinion, personally, where you're getting so goofy with it that it then turns the customer off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The peanut butter, fudge, coffee, banana, raisin, stout, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I think that has to be, you got to be careful of that. And I know that's done to create a new SKU, to generate additional revenue and stuff like that. But in a lot of cases, you're just trading one for the other, right? Like you just, you're not developing a new consumer. You're just moving a consumer from one to the other.
Here's a question for you. And I have my answer, and I think you're going to agree, or you're going to give the same answer. If FDA came in and said flavored cigars are banned, would it hurt our business?
100%.
I agree.
Undoubtedly.
It would hurt everybody's business.
Yeah, it's not just going to hurt our business.
No.
It would chunk a huge. There are loads and loads and loads of consumers who not only do they smoke flavored infused cigars, they only
So that was going to be my other question: is
infused cigars.
if flavored cigars were banned, would they find something else to smoke, or would they stop smoking?
I think, generally speaking, they would stop smoking.
I think some of them would continue, but I think the majority of them, even if it was a 60-40 split, would stop. I'm with you because
certainly the casual one would.
Yeah,
right?
assuming that like Baccarat and Las Cañas and those kinds of cigars stayed around, some of them may switch to that. But if that goes away too, and a cigar just is tobacco and water, and you can't use any sugar on it or anything like that, then I think you'd see even more go.
Yeah, it just, I think a lot of people who you and I smoke cigars with would think like, oh, that's crazy, especially if they're only from the consumer side.
Yeah.
We see it from the cash register side. We know what's being rung through. And I think this is the exact type of reason that even though they have a huge percentage of the flavored market, that you see Drew Estate coming out with Dominicana. It's a lighter, creamier version than the Deadwoods, and it's meant for a very specific consumer, in my opinion, an entry level getting into cigars consumer, right?
Yeah.
It's not as full. It's more approachable, especially initially, I think, than the regular Deadwoods, but you don't continue to push that down the line if it's not a huge revenue generating and manufacturer supporting line of cigars.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yep. I like it. All right, so I'm going to move on to some customer and employee hot takes that, like I said, some I agree with, some I don't. This is one that I do agree with.
Okay.
If people smoked cigars unbanded, they wouldn't have a clue how much a cigar cost and if it was good or bad or worth the money.
Yep. And they would enjoy it.
And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
If
I totally agree with that.
I think it,
and
there
this
are
actually
few,
plays off that rating system a little bit. Like
there are few people out there who can tell a difference between a Padron and even, and this is crazy to say, a Maduro Fuente.
Yep.
And that's Nicaraguan versus Maduro because they're both smooth, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
I hate that word, but they're both smooth.
Smooth.
They're both good tobacco. You don't taste it after you finish smoking it. But I genuinely agree with and a proponent of the idea if people smoke cigars unbanded, then brand bias would go away and people would be astonished at what they actually like, especially when it comes to a cigar they say they quote unquote hate.
There are so many people who, if you gave them that set of circumstances, actually be a good experiment to do in one of the lounges one time. Like, hey, here it is. Let me know what you think.
This especially goes for, let's go back to the only smoke Cuban smokers. If you gave someone that only smoked Cubans an unbanded cigar that was a medium-bodied Nicaraguan cigar, they ain't gonna know the difference.
No, they're gonna know, bro.
Yeah,
They only smoke
they
Cubans.
only smoke Cubans. No.
You know.
Yep.
You definitely couldn't slip a flavored Honduran in there and then have it be like, you know what I mean? Yeah, this is the best Cuban I've ever had.
Yep.
Was this a Bejique?
Yep.
Got it.
And I tell you, that's something fun that we do at the shop sometimes. Austin and I deemed it the game.
Yeah, we do this. Yeah.
Like, hey man, we
Try
don't
to
know
figure
what we
out
want to
what
smoke.
it is.
Do you want to play the game? Yeah, I'll play the game. And it's
You're
a little bit.
astonishingly good at that game. For anybody listening,
Thanks.
like, you do that to me sometimes. I smoke a lot of cigars. I'll be like, all right, this is like Wisconsin, maybe, I think. You know, something along those lines. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
upper Midwest.
And the funny thing about it is, like, for me specifically, is I know our humidor very well. But if you said, let's play the game, and you gave me a cigar that wasn't in our humidor that I didn't smoke regularly or maybe hadn't smoked before, wouldn't be near as good at it. I could probably tell you if it was Nicaraguan, Dominican, Honduran, maybe even the manufacturer.
Vicky could probably pick it out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Big cigar smoker.
Huge cigar guy.
But yeah, so that was an employee hot take.
That's just a good take.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's an argument to that because you hate not trying to be dickheads here, but like it goes that kind of take wraps a whole bunch of things in there together.
Yeah.
I only smoke Cubans. The Opus thing. I only do the high ends and stuff like that. I
only smoke expensive cigars, or expensive cigars are only good.
You know, I know what I like, this stuff like that. We have loads of cigars. I don't say loads, but good number of cigars in that humidor under $8 that we could unband and put them in a customer's hand. And then once they had it, it goes back to like our wine tastings.
Mm-hmm.
Like the reality is if you have it and you like it, you buy it. But before that, you're influenced by other things, right? The wine person who buys on the label.
So I had that conversation with a wine rep yesterday.
Yeah.
Actually, and that I think that's where this hot take, depending on how you look at it, stem from is marketing matters. People buy the labels. People buy the brand names. And if it's got Padron on it, you're going to think it's good, even if it's not. And that's a terrible example because I think Padron overall makes unbelievably good cigars. But you're also going into it with a preconceived notion that this cigar is going to be good. If you took the band off that cigar, I wonder if you'd like it just as much as before.
Yeah. And I think you could go as far as like giving a person 2 cigars and say one of these is $8, the other's $19. Tell me which one is which.
Yeah.
And I
think Charter Oak's a good example of that.
If we sat 30 people down and gave them all unbanded Charter Oak Maduros in the Toros, they're all Maduro smokers like Cigar, I think every last one of them would come out like, it's a $15, $20 cigar. And then you would tell them like that, it's the only thing they would start buying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we have tons of bundled buyer cigars who smoke that every day. And you think of like a bundle cigar not being great, but the particular bundles they always smoke, I think it's just because it's a pretty good cigar for what it is. You know what I mean? Like, So if you gave folks the opportunity to go in it with an unbiased, uninfluenced opinion of it, you're going to come out on our side of that 90% of the time. Maybe there's some connoisseur, right? Some person who legitimately spends all their time smoking cigars. Like, I think I could give things to you that you could, even if you didn't nail it right on the head, there's things that you're going to identify about it that certainly put it in a certain classification,
sure,
if you will, everything like that. But I think there's a lot of people who we could give them unbanded cigars that they wouldn't know it unless it was distinct to their region, right? There's Nicaraguan cigars in there that only Nicaragua really, in my opinion, produces with the spice and stuff like that. But in a lot of cases, we wouldn't know if it's Dominican, Nicaraguan, or Honduran. I'm not sure you could give it to them unbanded and they would know the size because they didn't see it on the box.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now there's a lot of variance in everybody's Toros and Robustos these days, so that's a little unfair. But I think there's a lot of people who don't. The only reason they know it's a Toro because the word Toro is written on the box when they take it. And if they took it off there, you'd be like, what size is it? Like, Churchill? You'd be like, what? No, that's not right at all, idiot. God damn, I thought this was going one direction.
Peter.
You're right off the bat stupid. No, I think that, was that an employee or a customer?
That was an employee.
Yeah, it was Robbie's.
That was.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
That was
I
Robbie's.
totally agree with him.
Yeah.
Totally agree with him. Undoubtedly, that was Robbie's opinion on that thing. I think it's a good opinion.
Yeah.
And I think it's also the reason, give things a chance. Don't, you know what I mean? And we have reps, manufacturers who come in and say, hey, we want you to, get this in the humidor. We want you to hand sell. It's a hand sell. It's like, bro, we hand sell everything. Okay. So it's just a matter of, you got to get these things out in front of people. And this is another one of those. The reality is that's why so much time, effort, and money is spent on marketing, packaging, designs, ratings, all those different things, because the reality of it is that stuff leads to sales. We've talked about this a million times. You can have, because we don't have the opportunity or time to put people through that exercise on any sort of regular basis.
Yep.
Right? So if you're a new manufacturer or you're launching a brand or anything, you could have the best cigar in the world. You could have the cigar that might get a 99.9999. But if people don't know about it, if you're not marketing it properly, if it doesn't give off the vibe of a high-end cigar, it has a hard time selling. That's the reality. And you can have a bad cigar. A
beautiful box.
Bad cigar.
With
It
a
looks
beautiful
great in a
band,
box. Looks great in the
story
band
to it.
from a manufacturer that people know, and people will 100% pick that cigar up and purchase it.
Yes. Yep.
Bar none.
Yep.
Bar none. Yep.
What you got?
All right. These ones are a little... So this one's actually going to play on this a little bit. All right, these are my little underbaked hot takes. Okay? In most instances, there's nothing really special about anybody's limited edition cigar.
So that was actually going to be one of mine.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time. If everything is limited, is anything
limited?
And we talked about that the other day with the Viaje Summerfest. Not to call anybody out, but he came out with the Summerfest and
not to call out anybody, but I did specifically say
I did.
And I agree with you on this. And
yeah.
if the people, well, we'll talk about this, but if Andre is listening to this, well, I want to talk about this cigar actually a little bit when we get to it. But go ahead, keep going.
I obviously love Tatuaje. In recent years, he has come out with a lot of limited editions and redone limited editions that were really special. but he did them in high quantities, and it made it a little less special, right?
Yeah.
Opus, going back to Opus, is special because they keep it limited, right? Like, obviously, you know my opinion on it now.
Yes, correct.
But they do that properly.
Yeah.
Right? Padron, when they do limited editions, do it properly. It's a one-time thing. You only can get it at PCA. It is what it is, right? My Father limited editions, I think, are very well done from an availability standpoint. Pricing, that's another story. But from an availability standpoint, JJ 20th's coming out hopefully this month. It's a one-time thing. It's a special cigar with a special blend. That's limited. But if you've got collector's edition, limited edition, edition de limitada, all this stuff, and it's just a different size. It's not limited.
Yeah, I'm just going to repeat the points you just made. And that was kind of why it was kind of a lukewarm take and everything like that. But it just, yeah, if it's all limited, is anything limited, right? Like, and it's just over and repeated and repeated. It's like, how many limited editions can even one manufacturer have?
Yeah.
For goodness sakes. I just feel like limiteds should be used to offer something wildly creative and unique that maybe has never been done before, or to mark something legitimately special within that manufacturer's portfolio. A very distinct anniversary, or Legacy is not limited edition, but I get the reasoning behind Legacy. But I'll give them credit in the fact that it's also something very unique and creative that they certainly have never done before.
Yeah.
Right? It felt special when that cigar came out, and it's delivering on it, which is
Unbelievable. I figure we'll probably smoke it on the air when we do Cole Perdomo factory tour.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Yep, for sure.
But Summerfest, you say you want to talk about this. What did you want to say?
Summerfest came in
2 days
Monday,
ago.
2 days ago. We support the Viaje brand. They have some releases that are very, very, very popular, some not as much. This cigar came in 3 different blends, correct? If you will.
A dark Habano,
Maduro,
and
a Barber Pole. They came in 3 identical boxes with a window cut into the box.
In the back.
So when the box is on a shelf, the window is absolutely 100% pointless. Okay.
It doesn't have any acrylic there either, so you can't put a beta fish in it like we wanted to.
We thought about making it in fish tank. Can't do that even. So you ruined the one good thing that you had about that. And then there is literally nothing on the box that distincts the cigars from each other. So this is a retailer complaint. I don't know anything about whether the cigars are good or not. I have not had a chance to smoke them yet. We know that Viaje is very cloak and dagger about blends and everything like that. So I don't even know if you know what each one is.
I don't.
Okay. The dark Habano, as it's described, and the Maduro are visually indistinguishable.
I got back from vacation Monday. I had a laundry list of things that I needed to do. And I had my day planned out. I was working at the shop. You were there, but you were doing stuff, so I was there managing the shop by myself. And I had this list of things I needed to do. And these cigars came in, and I had to take an unexpected 20 minutes out of my day to take every single cigar out of every single box, get my flashlight out, and hold them up under my flashlight to try and figure out which one was which.
There's no indication on the box.
Nope.
The box doesn't even have dark Habano or Maduro written in it.
And they all have the same band and a collector's edition band on it.
Yes. The boxes are identical. There is no difference in the shape or the coloration of the box. They're the same box for all 3 cigars. They are not barcoded, so you couldn't even look at the barcode to put them in there. We're going to sell twice as many of one and the other. Like, somehow we're going to sell 30 boxes of the dark Habano and 0 boxes of the Maduro, but somehow be out.
The only good news is
so much retail confusion about which one is which.
The only good news for us, from a financial perspective, is the dark Habano and the Maduro cost the same amount.
So if you get one,
if you get one, you get one. Thankfully for us, we're not losing money on it. The Barber Pole obviously is very easy to distinguish.
You distinguish the Barber Pole, like I get that.
But Yeah. I mean, I had to write on the boxes with Sharpie, Habano and Maduro, and I don't even know if I was right. I think I was, but like, I don't know.
It's not on the bottom of the box. It's not on a barcode. It's
Nothing.
not and there's other things etched in the box, right? It has collector's edition or Viaje, the name and stuff like that. And if that's done as a cost savings thing, that's ridiculous.
Yep.
If it's an oversight, correct the oversight next time. Like,
Yep.
I get it. But to not even have a barcode on there to like distinguish between the two. And you can't, I don't want to hear any sort of, well, you're tobacconist, you should know, like you're hand selling and stuff like that. You cannot tell them apart.
No. And it's funny because when you look it up in the Cigar Aficionado article, because I did this, they have a picture of 5 cigars, 2 of the Maduro, 2 of the Dark Habano, and the Barber Pole. And in that picture, they are very distinguishable.
Okay.
You can tell what's the Habano and what's the Maduro. And I also think it's funny they called it Dark Habano because it's a Maduro Habano. So you've got 2 Maduros, one's just San Andreas and one's Habano, so that's dumb too, but whatever.
Yep.
But in reality, when we got them in, they all looked the exact same. And I don't even know if they know if they sent us Maduro or Habano. I really don't, because I don't know how you tell.
Yeah, maybe we just got double the amount of boxes of Maduro, the quote-unquote regular San Andreas Maduro versus the other, and the invoice said one thing, and we just assume that that's how it is.
Yeah.
That could very well be true.
No.
But why is it not on the box?
I don't know.
Why are you making it harder for people who push your product? Why are you frustrating the people who are tasked with selling your product for you and talking about the cigars and be like, what's the difference? But if somebody came to you right now and said, what's the difference between these two? You would literally not know.
And we do a good job of hand selling and explaining, but imagine them being at a shop where they just went on the shelf. A consumer would just go in there and look at it and be like, that's weird. There's 2 of the same thing on the shelf. Not even realize that the 2 cigars are different.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if I prefer this to be a cost savings thing or just a general mistake. Like, oh man, like why did we do that or whatever?
It's lazy.
It feels very lazy. This is a brand we support, who generally speaking does good by us and and everything like that, and has popular releases.
Yep.
And this is they could be guilty of having some releases that look a lot alike and like are hard to but nothing like this.
No.
Nothing, ever like this. To use the identical box, like it can't cost any more for the Maduro box to be the yellow and the Dark Habano box to be green painted, right? Like,
or just switch the red and the gold on the band.
Or just do a different band.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a
this
different
one's red
band.
and gold. This one is
Give me a
gold and
black,
red,
white, red,
whatever.
like make it, yeah.
Because that's what he's done in the past.
Yes.
That's
correct.
what he's always done in the past.
Yep.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. All
I
right.
feel like I can get the answer to this by somebody
Go
that
ahead.
we know well, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what I was going to say.
Oh, I got you.
To that.
Gotcha. All right. I have 2 left.
Okay.
Both of them are not by employees. One of them goes along with something you've already talked about, so I'll share that first. And one of them is a hot take that I disagree with vehemently.
Oh, interesting. I'd like to see that.
But
these
I'll
are
save this for,
customer related hot takes?
Customers are friends.
Okay.
Customers are friends. Cigar influencers just influence me to not try your cigar. Now, I think what this person means by this isn't cigar reviewers. I think they mean the chicks that pop their titties out on Instagram that smoke the cigars. I think they mean the vloggers that are like kind of like the bourbon guys going around to cigar
shops. You raised
shops.
some eyebrows inside the shop there when you.
I did.
You did say
I
titties.
did. I did.
Yeah, St. Patrick's like, I thought I heard titty in there. Yeah.
I'm assuming that is what this person meant by that. And I will say this. It is frustrating as a retailer that manufacturers are more willing to invest money in people that do that than they are into their retailer.
Yeah. So a couple points here. One is shout out if you're a cigar influencer. I don't know that there's that many that are really very good at it.
Yeah.
That are true. Like the way that you see in some other markets and brands of different types of products. I think a lot of people, especially the cigar peers, probably think it's stupid. So I can get on board with that. A bit like some of the other things, though, I do think it works. I
think it depends on the kind of influencer.
Oh, yeah. You can't just listen. Like, you can't just say you're an influencer.
So the examples that comes to mind...
I guess you can, but you don't actually influence.
I think the example that comes to mind for the things that I think actually work, and I was actually against this when I heard about it, and if they're listening to this, which I know one of them may, I don't know, the Dead Leaf Breakfast Club.
Right.
Obviously, Greg is a member of that club. They do a phenomenal job of taking pictures of cigars and posting them and everything like that. And at first, when I first saw it, I was like, it's kind of dumb. What they've been able to do for companies from a marketing perspective,
it's really good.
Is really, really good.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the kind of cigar influencing I can get behind. I get why you pay those guys. You're getting high quality images of cigars that you can use for marketing. They get posted online. They get shared. You can collaborate with. I get that. I think this person was more so talking about the casual, I smoke cigars, I'm a cigar guy or gal, look at my page, here we are, right?
And I would say that the average manufacturer and the faces behind the manufacturing could do a better job of being their own influencers if they chose to.
Yeah.
And I think it would be more effective.
Yeah.
Right? There's some do it better than others. Herklotz does a great job of getting out there, right? Yep. On his own page.
Drew
on
Estate
the
does a great job.
Who?
Drew Estate.
Drew does, does an unbelievably good job. And then we see manufacturers who don't do a good job at it.
Yep.
I'm smoking their cigar right now. They've tried to ramp it up, but Esteban historically has not done a very good job of putting their product out there on the internet where most of the people are spending their time looking for that type of content, looking for that type of inspiration. I just don't, there's not a whole lot of quote unquote influencers in the cigar industry that I don't think are really taking it to a level. I think there's just a lot of people who want to call themselves an influencer who are taking a picture with a cigar in their hand, I think, doing it like that, but not participating in the overall industry as a whole.
And I think that is what this person was getting after because they feel like freeloaders at that point, right? Like they're looking for a free cigar because, if you give me a free cigar, I have 3,000 followers, so I'm going to post your cigar,
right?
And my 3,000 followers,
right? Like, but what am I getting in return for that? Like,
right?
Right. And we know that there's ways to artificially inflate your quote unquote followers. We see that all the time when you see like, this person has, or this company, whatever it is, has 10,000 followers, but their post has 12 likes.
Yep.
Well, clearly there's not a customer engagement there that justifies the followers. So that there's a lot of people who are just fake following or whatever it is. Yeah, I can get on board with that for sure because I don't think there's anybody like we know there's a lot of people making a lot of money, quote unquote, influencing certain things. I haven't come across somebody in the cigar business who's doing it to that level. Now, it's a smaller industry.
It's also a harder industry to make money on.
Well, social media.
Because of tobacco on social media.
Yeah, tobacco on social media gets hammered and stuff like that.
You can't monetize it.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so there's that obviously inhibits some stuff things. But I just think that there's plenty of manufacturers, brand owners, retailers who could do a much better job of influencing their own stores, their own brands, their own lines, if they did a better job. I think there's a lot of people who don't know how to do it properly. And I think there's a lot who just think it's stupid.
Yeah.
Which, fine.
Yep.
But you can think it's stupid and still do it and be effective with it. But if you don't think that works, I think you're crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We, over time, have ramped up our social media presence, things like the podcast and stuff like that. Our Oh, sorry, I just had a brain fart. But we've ramped it up, right? Now, can we even probably be doing better things, more things with the videos? Yeah. Sometimes it gets lost because we get busy with doing other things. Yep. It's hard to keep up, and we get on a routine of it. We stay posting and everything like that. But, yeah, I agree with what that take ultimately is when you frame it like that.
No.
For sure.
All right, what's your last underbaked hot cake?
Yeah, it's a little bit underbaked. So this comes from kind of our perspective. And we see this with when we do our events. Events are more about the vibe and what we make it than it is what cigars that we are promoting at that point in time.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Not super hot take.
I think we need to explain it though, because as a consumer, like before I started working at the shop, I got excited. Now I was geeky, and would be more willing to go to an event if Pepin or Pete Johnson or Aganorsa or whomever were there. But the thing is, these people have been around for so long, and so many people have met these people.
Yep.
That the event itself has to be special now. There has to be an added layer to it.
And that's what I mean. It is more about what we can do for the overall consumer than what the product it actually is.
Yep.
And then we've seen that, like what we can do to get customers engaged, have a good time, and get them introduced to a brand than it is just about like, hey, it's my father event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we could undersell a product that's a high-end product way more than... Let me think this out of the thing. We can undersell and underdeliver for a brand by not doing the things necessary to create a good event and environment.
Yeah. Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I think there are a few exceptions to that. Like I think, but it's for those companies whose owners do so few events. Mm-hmm. Like if we had a George Padron event or a Carlito Fuente event, if all we got to do is open the doors and have product, then it's going to be sick because George and Carlito are there, right?
But so that's part of the point. Having them there is a layer that not everybody can have.
Right. So that's the exception. But like what we've been able to do with Cigar Club, Friday night events during the summertime, we have food, we have free beer, we have a free cigar for you if you come out. That's what's elevating the experience. That's what gets people excited. And then we're also running deals on the cigars. So we see the return in our investment.
Yep.
And the customers continue to come back. They are excited. They want to know when the next event is, because I'm with you. The event, at least for us now, is not so much about who you have there, but what the event actually is. Yep.
I agree. You got one more?
I got one more.
Is this the one that you said that you vehemently... So let's end on this one. The one that you said that you vehemently disagree with.
Vehemently disagree with and hurt me to the core. And this was a customer.
Is this a Tatuaje sucks take?
Tatuaje sucks. Tatuaje.
Are you serious? Is that what it is?
Tatuaje cigars are boring, bad, and all taste the same.
That had to... we're not going to shout them out, but I really want to know what customer said this to you.
It was surprising who said it, too, because they're a good customer, and this customer always comes in and wants to try all the new stuff, and this came from a new Tatuaje cigar that came out, and I was saying how much I liked it, and that's when they told me that.
Okay.
And I did convince them to try it, and they did smoke it, and they said it was okay, which is a win.
Yep.
But it hurt me, and I will say this before you say what you're going to say. This goes back to the hot take thing, right? Like, this goes back to the idea that cigars are subjective. You're not going to like what I like. I'm not always going to like what you like. And this is a glaring example of that.
So here's what I would say to that take. I'm not a quote-unquote like you tat guy. I like Tatuaje. I think Tatuaje makes great cigars. And the Tatuaje cigars that I smoke are some of the best cigars. I would not disagree with the portion of the take that a lot of Tatuaje swim in the same waters.
And as a tat guy, I get that.
Okay.
Right.
But that's why you like Tatuaje.
I like those waters.
Tatuaje, for better or for worse, is guilty of playing the hits.
Yep.
Doing what Tatuaje does best. There's nothing wrong with that. Right? Like, but I could get on board with a lot of the stuff is very, very similar. I also think that there's not a whole lot of variance in a whole lot of brands. A lot of brands do what they're supposed to do what they've always done, and there's something to be said for doing what you do and doing it well.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, what Tatuaje does. They do what they do, and they do it very, very, very well. Right?
Yeah, so, Tatuaje can be confusing, right?
Very confusing.
Brown Label Core is one of my favorite cigars. What's the difference between K222, J21, Cajonu, all the Cajonus for that matter? Then, what's Havana 6? What's Fausto? What's this? What's that? Tat doesn't do a great job distinguishing necessarily between bands and whatnot of what the difference is, specifically when it comes to the Brown Label line. But that core flavor profile that Tatuaje has is what I gravitate to. This person likes a more typically full-bodied and chewy cigar.
Yep.
Whereas Tatuaje is much more medium, full
they don't
Cuban-esque.
They don't do that.
So I got where they were coming from.
Yeah. That's a personal preference.
And that goes back to the subjective thing. But it was, I would like to think, and this is stepping back, that Tatuaje is a fairly liked brand as a whole.
Yeah.
So, hot take, just like the Opus thing, right? Like, just like the Dunbarton thing. And that goes back to cigars are subjective. You like what you like. Some people will go to war for these brands and these companies. But at the end of the day, we're not always going to like the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, all these takes kind of gravitate around a very similar premise, which is if you like what you like, smoke it. You don't take it, necessarily a person's opinion or their rating or their limited availability as some sort of gospel that you are or are not going to like something. The flavored stuff, smoke it. If it's rated an 81, smoke it. You like the Opus, smoke it.
Listen, I'm going to continue to smoke Opus.
Yeah.
Because when Opus is on, like I said, it is awesome. I'm going to continue to try Dunbarton cigars.
Sure.
Because I want to get it, I want to like it, and I'm hoping to be surprised.
Yeah.
This is just how I'm feeling today. I'm feeling spicy.
I'll go down with a ship, though, that Nicaraguans make the best cigars.
Yeah, I don't even think that's a hot take.
No, I think it is to some people.
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure if you told that to Christian Iro or Husto that they'd
tell
or
you full of shit.
Carlito,
Yeah, they're
they
full
would.
of shit. But
yeah, I mean,
that doesn't make the others bad. I just think the best cigars coming out of Nicaragua. Good hot takes today, man.
good hot takes.
All right, so this episode will come out. You're listening to this, it's going to come out after the 4th of July. If you're listening, have a great 4th of July weekend. Also, if you're listening still now, we'll make the announcement next week, but baseball game in Greensboro is August 16th, so we're going to make the announcement for tickets next week.
With Foundation Cigars.
With Foundation Cigars. Nathan with Foundation Cigars will be on hand. We're doing deals on them. You get your ticket to the baseball game. So if you are listening to this, next week we'll make that announcement before this pod comes out. So you'll probably already have your tickets by then anyway, but grab them because they're super limited, super popular event. We'll be back on our normal podcast rotation now that vacations are, generally speaking, over for at least a hot minute. And I hope everybody has a great 4th of July.
Yeah.
All right. See you, brother.
See you.
Yeah, between two burns, yeah, between two burns. Come and join the convo. Jason and Ethan here to talk, yo. Chilling while we filling up the room with cigar smoke. Hey, between two burns, yeah, between two burns. This be the show that you like. We always keeping it hype. We got cigars and a mic, talking the pipe and the pint. Let's go.